I do remember I was here on the stage last year, and I was probably quite a lone voice to talk about to some of the misguided directions of Europe where we're going on technology. And this letter, Nicoletta, that you're talking about is that it wasn't just meta, it was the who is who of European industry, of research, of academia expressing the very same thing. And it expresses a frustration with the complexity of Europe. You know, we have 270 pieces of technology regulation. We have 160 regulators in Europe. It's extremely complex, it's extremely slow, and I just have to repeat what Giuliano said, dati, dati, dati. It's the problem of having access to data. This is one of the biggest concerns, and that's the reason why industry is speaking up, and this letter is resonating. It's resonating. You ask me, you wouldn't know otherwise, because it is in the media. We have a lot of politicians, ministries who share the same sentiment that we are going in the wrong direction with the complexity when it comes to Europe. And the question is, what does Europe miss? And I was here last year and I was speaking about this. But we're really missing the future of Europe. We're missing to have the tools to get us through this productivity slump. We miss the tools that reflect the cultural richness of Europe if we don't have European data in the future AI model. So there's a lot at stake. We're losing out in Europe so far, and that losing out might actually accelerate if we don't get it right on AI.
It is a crucial issue. And you delivered in some countries your Meta AI and Llama 3.2. You didn't in the European market. Why?
So it's not a choice. It's not that we sort of sit somewhere and decide which models we deploy. It's a question of regulation. So to some extent, we cannot launch models, we cannot launch assistants. It's also enormous uncertainty. And yes, there are other companies that have models in the market. I cannot sort of comment on their risk appetite and so on. But we are unfortunately in very good company. There are many other AI applications. Think about the Apple Assistant, Microsoft Copilot. Google had problems to launch models here. So this is unfortunately the norm, not the exception, that we are not having products, AI products, but also other technology products in Europe. And you see a real two-tier market. And just let me make one point. The funny thing is, or it's not funny, it's actually very sad, is that it does not have to be this way. Think about the UK. Yeah? The UK, now outside of Europe, but has exactly the same rules on technology, had exactly the same question to answer, whether we can use European data to train European models. They looked into this in a couple of weeks and decided that Europe can do this. In Europe, we have, I don't know how many questions to answer that gets us into next year until we have an answer, and then Europe hasn't even decided how they want to make a decision, who makes a decision. So this is terrible for Europe. That holds us back many, many months. And months in AI mean generations of AI models that we are not having available for our academia, for our businesses, for our society.
And now let's talk about AI Act. How do you think? And in your opinion, what about priorities in European policy?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about specific regulation. You know, I mean, it's not the regulation, the substance of the regulation per se. It's the multitude of it. It's the inconsistency of it. It is the slowness of Europe that is the problem. It's more the mechanics than the substance. But what do we need to go forward? And there's a lot of things. The first one is, and I heard today and yesterday about this, we need to really think about the two sides of technology. We have to think about responsibilities. We have to think about protecting human rights and fundamental rights. But I think Undersecretary Putti said this yesterday. There has to be a right to innovation. And we have to balance the two things. It's impossible to just optimize for one thing. I think the second one is that we have to really think in Europe to have a productivity czar, sort of a champion for productivity. And then there's three things. You know, it's single market, single market, single market. We still have not done enough in Europe to create a single market for the companies that want to scale in Europe. And then very lastly, and most outrageously, one suggestion I have is, we have a lot of politicians, a lot of political leaders who are the cheerleaders of doom, of the concerns about the future technologies. I would really like to see more and more policymakers to be cheerleaders of the opportunities, to lift us out of the productivity slump, who do not accept that we lose out against America, that we lose out against China, that we lose out against India. That's what we want to see. And I have to say, here in Italy, I get a lot of positive signals. I don't think this is the case in this room here, but unfortunately, that is not representative for the rest of Europe. And we need to have people from the front embracing technology, embracing AI, maybe even stimulating demand for AI, rather than just speaking about the risks, which there are, but being negative about the future of technology.